Okay, welcome to another live with Shifties, and today we've got Juice Ventures joining us. So we're across Facebook and LinkedIn now. So if you are watching it live, please do drop a comment, let us know where you're watching from, maybe introduce your business, and throughout the next, well, just under an hour we've got today. If there are any questions you have that are specific to your business, then please do reach out and we can discuss on that. But I think the best place to start is, well, I will introduce Flavia. So I know when we met, must have been, it was pre-pandemic, wasn't it? Because we met at the
Yes,
London Leaders Network, was it? I think.
yes,
So it
yeah.
was
It was
3 years
more
ago.
than 2 weeks ago. More than
Yeah,
2 years ago. Yeah.
and I remember talking to you about funding. Because at the time you were working at Silicon Valley Bank, right? You were
Yes.
there, and I remember talking to you about funding and what you were looking for were, tech companies that when I was like, well, you're not interested in a cleaning company then. Yeah. But yeah, so that was how I got to know you. But since then, following your journey, I was so happy when you got back in touch to say Juice Ventures is happening, and I think it's perfect timing for the UK market as well. So, if you could
Amazing.
just introduce yourself, introduce Juice Ventures, and then we can kind of get into the conversation around direct-to-consumer funding.
Amazing. Alex, it's really nice to see you today, and really lovely to have so many people watching us live. My background is in investment, been doing it for now 10 years. The first 7.5 of them I've spent with 3 funds, working with amazing companies that you guys will know. They're doing amazing things right now. Curve, Memgrab, Ably, Urban, many others. And joined Juice Ventures. We have an amazing plan to offer companies great products that they're able to scale as their businesses grow. So these are digital marketing line, TV advertising, and of course we have a couple of equity funds from pre-seed all the way to Series A. So please feel free to reach out if you're a direct consumer business, if fundamentally you're going to be building this through digital marketing strategies and you need a lot of resources to get there to the point where you're going to have a global recognizable brand and you're going to be able to achieve your ideal exit. So we're here for that very challenging period from pre-seed all the way to Series A, working with you.
Awesome, love that, love that. And I think I think the need for this conversation now in the UK, because I think we talked about it yesterday when we caught up about, there's a lot of the conversation in London is fine. You can turn every corner and you'll find a conversation there. But actually spreading that across not just the UK but in Europe, I know it's a big passion of yours to kind of seek and find founders that may not be in London
Mm.
somewhere. Maybe you can just share a little bit about why that's important to you.
Oh, I think, yeah, we're speaking about the European landscape, about 40% of all the deals are happening in the UK, and about 80% of those deals are happening in London. So clearly, founders and location is really important. But it also means that for founders in different parts of our country and different parts of Europe, they just don't have as many things they can reach out to that many organizations and events and workshops and experts. So for the last 7 years, I have been working with the European Commission as an evaluator now and as an expert coach. I have mentored in so many programs and accelerators, and I continue to do so in my free time because I feel that there's a huge and quite tangible gap between founders sitting in London and being almost flooded with opportunities and abilities to connect, and founders that have very limited or no opportunities where they start their business, and in D2C, or that or businesses that generally scale through digital channels, they can be started everywhere. Um, but it doesn't mean that you have the right resources on your doorstep. So I think that this is, my mission is to help founders, help women entrepreneurs. Um, so I'm very dedicated to this space and have done so for the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's awesome. Your energy towards it is amazing. That's why I think that's why we've kind of gravitated towards each other as brands. I'm really excited to see this conversation start. So let's get started with the conversation because I see over the next few months, I want to see this conversation evolve, and we're very blessed to have you give us your time, and I want to make sure we utilize it well. But to start with, I think we need to start at the front end. What is a direct-to-consumer brand? How would you describe a direct-to-consumer business, and the sort of business that could benefit from funding, just at a very grassroots level? If you wouldn't mind starting there, that would be wonderful.
The hard questions, Alex.
So broad. So I know.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay. For those watching us, direct-to-consumer businesses are fundamentally businesses that want to reach the user without an intermediary. So it means that you're probably, instead of going to a supermarket chain, you're developing your Shopify portal, and you're able to channel for various different ads, users and clients to your website where they can buy and subscribe to your solution and your products. It's a very different model, but it is one that is, over the last 18 months, is perhaps seeing the best evolution, in the sense that right now, just think about all the consumer products in the market. Before the pandemic, 6.8 billion of those purchases were done direct to consumer. So people actually going to their favorite shop or favorite brand. I know I have some. I know you guys have some as well. And you're subscribing, or you were buying their product from straight from their website, maybe not from Amazon, maybe not from a supermarket or Ocado or other kind of intermediaries. Today, that has tripled in value. So it just shows us that we're on an important trend. People are buying a lot more the brand, the value, the sustainability, the impact that company is having. So it's a trend that we can't deny. It's such an important amount of capital now that is being spent directly with the brand rather than with an intermediary or a platform. So definitely it's important for you guys to understand the difference. It's fine if you have hybrid strategies. There's nothing wrong with it. You do need to, work with the supermarket, with the intermediary, with Amazon, with different providers to get visibility and create that brand. But D2C, it's about this shift of wanting to reach the consumer without any other barrier, and send your message, share your values, and tell the story of why you're doing this. What is the value that you're creating?
So powerful, isn't it? It's so enabling. The future is so exciting, especially when you see brands like Pinterest now looking to launch Pinterest TV and things like that are going to just bring, like you say, it's bringing that consumer just that one step closer every time to their actual business, which is wonderful. I mean, the questions are already coming through. Someone's asked, I would just put on here, I can't see who, but Facebook user. Hi, Facebook user. Do you support service-based too, or just product-based? So is it service and product? So like, let's say it's a coaching program online, direct to consumer, that would be the same?
Mom, I think when it comes to direct to consumer, we're not necessarily referring to products. I think the terminology is not about a physical product, whether it is a bit of clothing or beauty and or food and drinks. No, it's not about that. It is anything that can be sold, whether it is a real or a digital type of product or solution. So yes, if you're delivering an educational program, if you're delivering a digital service, um, even in think about it nowadays, we're shifting into the space of NFTs, so you could buy digital art that is still direct to consumer. You could still, you can have a strategy and implement it in that specific way. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, it's comprehensive.
Love that. Love that. Well, this is great. So, okay, fine. So, established what we're talking about, at least right at the front end. At least we're all on the same page now, which is good. I can see the comments. There's a lot of clarity being made through that process, which is wonderful. So, let's talk about fundamentally. You know, I run a poll in our community a little while ago about have you ever accessed funding or have you ever accessed grants or have you ever had access to any additional financial support for your business beyond just revenue generated cash. And it was actually quite surprising to see that it was like 60 odd percent people that hadn't even considered it as an option. Why do you think that is? Is it just because this isn't happening enough, that there's not enough conversation around it? Why do you think that is?
You're speaking about debt or finance?
I think both. To be honest with you, I think both.
Um, well, obviously, I have my own kind of understanding of this space. Perhaps I am biased coming from 10 years of working in investment, working with companies across the stages and helping them capitalize, helping them build for growth. Um, my kind of first observation, looking at companies, let's say in the US, and the last 2 years and a half before joining Juice Ventures, I have seen quite a lot of them making that successful transition. The growth there and the idea of using all types of capital, whether it is grants or non-dilutive, equity, which is dilutive, and of course the finance products that exist in the US market, a whole plethora of different solutions that are meant to enable founders from very early on in the process, all the way kind of pre-IPO to deliver their strategies. I think that what we're missing here, even in the UK and more broadly in Europe, is this kind of comfort and education about when are the right points in which I can use something for my business so that it's not detrimental, but is revenue generating. I can have a positive impact in my business by using a relevant, suitable product for what I'm trying to achieve. So I think we're right now, my goal, and I'm developing a number of different initiatives within the ecosystems and a number of accelerators around understanding the various different solutions that are out there and when they're best used, and most importantly, how can you prepare yourself to make those sort of decisions, even as an early stage founder, when you're not going to have the benefit of a chief financial officer with 10, 20 years of experience helping businesses capitalize. Of course not. I think you can do it very early on. You can understand the different types of products. You can even start to understand how to model your decisions. And it's becoming increasingly easier for you to access this capital. So with us, we're in the process of launching some amazing solutions that you can almost access instantly. Plus a lot of support, a community of experts, access to somebody that you could call on a weekly basis, that you could speak about some of the challenges in your business, and a number of partners that are there to help you resolve some of those day-to-day issues that you're finding as a founder. I think early stage is always the most challenging period in a company's and a founder's life cycle. As you're getting towards Series A and Bs, as you're building, you have a business that is 5, 10, 20, 100 million in revenue. This problem disappear because you just have the right resources. You can hire the best people in the market to help you as founders. but it is the more kind of challenging period in the early stage where if you make the wrong mistakes, they can be very costly. So yeah, for me, it's education. Second is that we don't discuss it enough. We're still having this sort of stigma around debt. We're not comfortable with utilizing in the right ways. We might not necessarily have the right programs to help us as founders put the bricks of knowledge together and then see how they work in practice, and have the same kind of approach we do with our marketing. Testing. You don't need to spend tens of thousands of pounds before you figure out whether this works for you or not. Test with a few hundred, test with a few thousands. If it works, great. Continue to do what works. If it doesn't work, stop it because it can destroy your business. Um, but definitely in the direct to consumer space, one thing I would say, funding specific things out of equity is just really bad business. As founders, you can get so diluted by the point you have a business that has a million or two of revenue that it's heartbreaking. I've seen a number of them. I have a few friends that have gone through the journey. I would always encourage you, and please feel free to reach out if you need someone to talk to. Um, take a very good look at all the strategies you can employ in your business. Experiment as much as you can, because the rewards of finding the right approach for your product, for your business, for your stage, my God, is impressive. I've seen companies in the market being able to do, and in our portfolios, being able to increase 5 times, 10 times their revenue in the space of 6 to 12 months. So never underestimate the power of using the right approach, the right product, the right solution at the right time. Um, you can cannibalize these really beautiful moments that you have in your journey, and end up with a business that is a lot more valuable, a lot more robust at the end of it.
I love this. You're do you know, this is why, Flavia, I wanted you to have these conversations and come and share some of this journey with the Shifty's growth platform, because what you're talking about there is embracing what we love so much about entrepreneurship, which is about taking risks, being creative, thinking about different alternative ways of doing things, and that's not just on the funding side. You touched on it there. Marketing is, hey, I don't know. Is it this? Did this work? Maybe let's just try again and then confirm, and then okay, that's not working. But so many people, I find, and I speak to hundreds of founders and business owners every year, and they're so dead set on their way because you know their mate did it on Instagram and that worked for their mate, and that's the route that they're going down. But actually, it's that turning on the many taps to see what's working, trying lots of new things, and all that language creeps in, which is really interesting coming from, which it just shows the experience that you have actually working with founders, actually working with businesses and seeing what works and what fails. And the fact that you can say, like you just did there, that actually, look, we understand you need to take risks. It's not always going to work. And we embrace that is really quite refreshing.
Oh, Alex, I think when it comes down to marketing strategies, without shadow of a doubt, people in the audience today will have will have had at least a taste of Facebook and Google, many of them on Shopify and Woo and some of the other platforms for delivering kind of e-commerce business, helping e-commerce businesses. Fundamentally, when it comes to digital marketing strategies, you have to play with various different channels and various different platforms and different types of mediums and content types, and you always optimize for something. But the perhaps the ugliest part of all these exercises are that the moment you find that equilibrium, it continues to change. These platforms change their algorithms, they change their rules, they change their bidding systems for specific audiences. So it's a continuous journey to find that equilibrium, find that right optimal point, improve the journey, improve the cadence. The cadence, in my view, is all the things that you need to do to create awareness and drive someone to your website, to your shop, to your solution. And that can be a very long, long and very tedious process that you have to go through, but it continuously evolves. If you're in the D2C space, you're bound to have the same pathway as everybody else. It's going to be hard work, and you're going to continuously have to find that optimize for something. And the moment you find that something's going to change, like we've seen, this year with Facebook platform or Meta, and then we're seeing with iOS, and next year is going to come Android. Is going to have a completely different change. And before you know it, platforms like Pinterest and TikTok and many others are going to introduce the new kind of generation of advertising and audience identification tools and different bidding systems for that audience, because their goal is to maximize their revenues. And we are paying more and more for access to very curated, very fine-tuned profiles of individuals, and to get their attention when it's most likely to work. Um, the same has to happen, that experimentation and optimization in your financial kind of planning. It doesn't go away. Your marketing and your financial planning, if you're in a D2C space, if you want to grow a business to 100 million to 200 million in the next 5 7 years, you're bound to have this complete continuous iteration of versions of how you're going to evolve your business. Have like sprints for your marketing, sprints for specific platforms, sprints for a particular product. The same, you have to approach it with your financials.
Love that. What wonderful advice. That's fantastic. And it's so frustrating. It's one of those things with marketing, isn't it? It's so frustrating, but so exciting at the same time. It's like, yes, I just hit this sweet spot, and it's just like, wait, here they come. Yes, brilliant, finally. And then bang, doors shut. Sorry. Go back to your whiteboard. You're going again. Yeah, I love that. Love that. It's great advice
Um,
as well.
I had a friend, and she told me that she finally managed to put a bit of amazing content on YouTube. It was great. She had like 80,000 views in about a week. She was very excited. And then it completely finished off, and she couldn't understand why that is the case. Going back to the whiteboard, where did we go wrong? Why is it not growing? Um, that's the journey. I think this is why vast majority of the viewers and ourselves were in the space, because we kind of like the adrenaline, we like the unknowns, and we like to solve for them. Um, and I think it's more the journey rather than the end result that we really like.
Yeah, and embracing that, and I think that's such an important. Well, look, you don't get into business. You don't make money when you're building businesses. You make it when you sell them. So enjoy. You may as well enjoy the journey while you're at it, right?
Yes, yes.
I love that. We actually have a question, which is a bit of a side curveball question on LinkedIn from Jamie about personal brand, which is quite interesting because I think you will have views on this too, because of your exposure to founders over the years.
Mm,
How do you see, for instance, let's just talk about um, uh, Spotify. Let's take Spotify. Daniel Ek, who's I'm desperate for him to buy my football team at the moment because he's teasing us and he's not doing it. But I will gravitate and I have stock in stock in Spotify. I use the brand. I really lean towards the brand because I love Daniel Ek and I love what he's about as a founder.
mm.
How I think so. Just to expand on Jamie's, he's asked about a good personal brand, um, how to market himself as a personal brand. But I think more importantly, how big a role does the founder's personal brands play in the conversations they have with organizations like yourself and the market itself?
Um, Perhaps with us, we deal with companies that are very early stage. So I'm going to make kind of a side note. while you're very early stage, it's going to be very hard to have the PR support, and you as a founding team or as a founder um, have that public persona. Um, Daniel Ek has a team or a PR agency that enables him to get exposure to the major publications. He's in the right mediums with the right message that is fine tuned for what he believes in, and what he wants to be perceived by us, the audience, right? So it does not. He's not the only founder. Actually, vast majority of founders beyond Series A will have some sort of PR agency working with a founding team to help them position themselves as leaders. So you will have noticed many founders after Series A, they start writing for Financial Times or Fortune or TechCrunch or Sifted or many other publications that have huge fellowship in our communities and our ecosystems across the UK, and some across the US and Europe as well. That is a very, there is a strategy, there is a plan, there is an implementation, and there are potentially many people involved in this. So you wanting to do that sort of thing very early on is going to be potentially very difficult. Um, you could start with some elements, for example, writing for a publication, blogging, having a YouTube channel where you share various different experiences. Well, maybe you do your own review. I think it's absolute must if you want to create a public persona and you want people to know you. And it may be humble in the beginning because you're not going to get a huge fellowship, but if you're very persistent, you could quite comfortably get in a year or two at tens of thousands of followers, which I know for some people might not seem a lot, but for some it can be quite um, quite important. I mean, if your business
That
and
might serve them, right? That might be all they need to serve the business.
Exactly. So finding the right medium that you're comfortable with, I think, is the first. So whether you like more to write, I blog, I write for some magazines, because I just love to do that. It comes naturally to me. The likelihood is that you're not going to see me on having a YouTube channel because I can't get comfortable with the camera.
You're brilliant on camera. Shut up. You're brilliant.
Yeah, it will take a lot of effort and a lot of convincing to get myself in front of the camera and do something that on a regular basis. Um, so it's just finding that right medium, putting yourself out there, employing some of the strategies that you see these founders that have gone through the whole cycle and have been very successful. What are the things they did? How can you think, what values do you want to put out there? What do you stand for? Um, I think it starts with small things, being very consistent in your approach, having consistent posts on same days, consistent blogs on same days, consistent videos if you're going to have that approach. It's just opening yourself out and having continuously delivering new creative content, new creative things about yourself and your brand to the ecosystem. And for those that are always interested in a shortcut or a hack, um, one of the things that I would say is that on LinkedIn, there is a function that you could select specific individuals to see your publication, your post, and you could pay for that to be bumped into their feed. So, yes, select your favorite 1,000 people in the ecosystem that want to know your name. Maybe they're investors, maybe they're from a corporate that you really want to do business with. I'm not here to tell you who, but absolutely use these tools because it's so much cheaper to actually bump your content and to just ensure, let's say, that somebody from Sequoia sees it or somebody from Unilever sees it, than it is to put an ad and to get that sort of audience. So it's very, I would say that there's some very interesting things. I've used it. You guys should use it as well. They're just small tips and tricks that you can put together, but be ready to start small. because you're going to get there when you have a team behind you that is focused 100% on your image. That is not the founder themselves doing it. That is a team of PR specialists that their whole purpose is to focus on delivering the right mediums and the right opportunities for the founder.
Love that. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you something. What's really good. So, Jamie, what I would be doing, um, go back, find someone that inspires you that's doing that now. Go back to where they were at the start and
Yeah.
look at their old. So, like Joe Rogan's a classic for this. If you watch Joe Rogan's first ever Joe Rogan Experience episode, it's like the first 10 minutes is just him trying to sort the camera out. It's all blurry, it's all smoky. You can't hear anything. It's like it's ridiculous. It's rubbish, really, you know. But he started and he found his voice and he kind of carried on. And I think if you take any founder or anyone in that space, you'll look at what they did at the start is more important than look at what they're doing now.
Yeah.
And same with businesses. The amount of times startups spend so much time and money on beautiful, wonderful assets and website and everything, and it looks so stunning, but no one's looking at the bloody thing. If you look at Airbnb, have you ever looked at I can't remember the website? Is it SimilarWeb? No. There's a website where you can go back in time and look at the archive of a website when it was first made. And if you look at Airbnb's website now, it's lovely. It's really polished, and everyone knows what Airbnb does. So it just has that. But actually, if you go right back to the start and look at their video, it was like rich text. It was like looking for a house, to stay in while you're at a festival, book now. It was like really specific, really like targeted at the customer's needs. And I think it's a good one when you talk about personal brand. I think it's always important to reiterate: don't compare yourself to where they are now. Compare yourself to where they were in your stage of the journey. I think that will help you make those decisions.
Such good advice, Alex. Love the way you described it. And Airbnb is such a good example. I mean, you guys could see their pitch deck when they raised their first round.
Yes, I've seen
Um,
that.
it's really mind blowing the journey a company can take. But yeah, well done, Jamie. Great, really great question, and I hope that everybody in the audience is taking those small steps in the direction.
No, that's great. That's great. Lovely. Okay, brilliant. So next question I have for you. God, this is great. I'm loving this. This is all on you. So pitch deck. I get asked a question all of the time, and we've got a few kind of template pitch decks that we've kind of created for our own uses and for some of our clients. But for Juice Ventures, what makes a great pitch deck? If I was coming to you and I said, Flavia, can I have 10 minutes of your time? I just want to show you this. I just want to pitch you my pitch, my business. This is what I'm about. What makes a great pitch deck?
First things first is that we probably we within Velocity, which is our equity arm, we would probably look at your pitch deck. We're probably going to look at various different elements within Juice Ventures. But now coming back to the question, um, pitch decks are just sales documents. They're meant to be telling the most positive version of what you have done and what you're trying to achieve next. And I just want to, I think that there's some very basic elements that everybody should have, and you guys know this. I mean, this question is perhaps over asked in every single event that I've been to. Think about, what are they buying in early stage? If it's early stage, it's probably going to be the team. So speak about the expertise of the team, why you're great. If you've done something amazing before, you have a good track record, speak about that. Just make sure that you don't eclipse some of the other members of the team, because the investor backs the team, not just one individual. One individual cannot execute a business plan. They can't grow a business, not one single person. So ensure that you put really the light on everyone that you're bringing on this journey with you, even at the earliest stages. Showcase their potential. The second element, think about how valuable the information is in your kind of presentation. What would you want to know if you were making an investment? So if you were making an investment, you probably want to know what the company has done already so far to validate their assumptions. So they tell you that there's like a 200 billion market out there. There's just so much, the numbers are very big for whatever you're building nowadays. The numbers are in the sort of billions, if not trillions. So it's very important to focus on what can I actually achieve with my company. Um, Bring it down to reality. This is what I've done so far, and I'm very excited because I've grown 20% month on month for the last 6 months. Yeah, it's not a long period of time, but it's 6 months. And if I continue down this pathway, and if I had the resources to continue down this pathway, I could build 100 million, revenue business by year 3 or year 4. And what does that mean to you as an investor? A company that presents you something that you can almost see unfolding before your eyes. So it's not just static data. Oh, there's a big market. Here's a product. There's no kind of link between these two. You're gonna, you're gonna lose the audience, or it's just gonna be one of the thousands of decks they see that quarter. Um, so always make sure that you tie up the story of how big the market is to how you're approaching to build a business that is huge. And definitely don't go to an investor if you can't build a huge business. um, this is about speed, and it's about velocity, and it's about being able to do something great at scale. Um, that is the shift in our market. That is what US has been all about for the last 4 or 5 decades. So always invest a lot of time thinking about it. If a person that has never seen anything about your company before, if they're looking at your deck, can they get in 2 minutes or less that message? Here's what I'm doing. Here's how big it can be. And this is how I'm going to do it. And that is, I think, the unique element. Everybody will tell you that, include a slide on your market, include a slide
Yeah,
on finance, include a slide on team, include a slide on the solution. I would say, add something that is completely yours. And founders that do it um, will always be successful and will always stick up from the crowd, from the 20-50 decks that you see that week. They will appear as the ones that you're okay. That's interesting. Um, Always create a journey between your product, the business that you really want to build, and the market opportunity that is substantial. And the more evidence you have, the more you have done to test certain things, and if you include them, the better. Beyond that, I would say that everybody in the space has really well formatted, minimalist presentations. That is a given. That is it should be professional. Don't sell yourself short. It is meant to sell, and it's meant to represent you as a founder or as a founding team. It's meant to represent your vision, your values. Don't leave things unpolished. They tend to do more damage than you think.
yeah,
Or having things misspelled. I know it's awful, but it happens. Um, there's services that you could use out there. Buzzbar has like on-demand editing of presentation. 23slides.com is another one. Platforms like Fiverr also have kind of presentation formatting services. So use these very cheap and accessible solutions to do it. Once you've worked out the sort of more important elements that should be in a presentation.
I love that, and I know it's a common question, but actually, I think you've unpacked two things there. One, first bit you came on to very quickly was, you know, is there enough room for the investor? Is the first thing you kind of said. Well, actually, is it big enough? Is the opportunity actually there for an investor to get involved in? Which is your kind of first fork in your decisions, whether you can go down
Yeah.
that route. But then the secondary there is, you've got to, you're marketing, you're selling. You've got to find a way to stand out and be a bit different. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's the absolute best thing you can do. So the first part, when I mean, what is that point in time when someone realizes, what does that, how, I'm trying to I want to dig a bit deeper on should I be thinking about this now or not? Or should I just be enjoying the conversation that Flavia and Alex are having? I'm just thinking about someone who's watching this back, whether they're watching it back or they're watching it live, and they're thinking, actually, you know what? I might have something here. I might have a product that could be a business that scales. What kind of immediate questions would you want them to ask themselves before they pursue that further?
That's a hard question.
Well, I'll give you an easy one.
Okay. No. We'll take the easy one afterwards. But that's a very good question. And for those founders right now, or professionals thinking about starting their own business, maybe it's in the direct-to-consumer space. These are, the space in which you're heading or in which you're operating is moving at huge speed. The innovation, technology, solutions, automation, data, intelligence is all there on your fingertips, and the cost is dropping day by day for you to access systems and solutions that enable you to scale a business. So one of the things that I would say is validate by starting to do things. Start small. If I was building my own business, I would put a website out there. Maybe it's not going to be the best, but you could have plugging for e-commerce, take payments, design, put your products up. You could, you now even have companies that help you source products or find manufacturers. So if you're thinking about, let's say a physical product, there's just so much out there that you could validate. So there is a point at which you would have done so much research, you will convince yourself that there's a huge market here. There are definitely people that are going to be paying money for this. Maybe you don't have the pricing right at the start, but the next step is to just validate at the smallest scale that you can, with the type of client that you identify as being the most suitable. If you don't validate, it's just an idea, it's not a business. And I would urge everyone to make this transition, because that's the only way you're going to find the right response. There is no shortcut. There is no way of validating in a virtual environment. I think the only way you're going to do it is by putting, the sign shop open online and starting to think about how you're going to reach that ideal client or ideal customer, and starting to do things in the public domain. Maybe you have a different approach. Maybe it's initially you contact specific companies or specific people. Maybe you have just a few ads just to test how it works. You don't need tens of thousands of pounds to do it. You could test with a few £100, um, until you kind of get the hang of it and you see what works and what doesn't. And you can find, you can even find there is a company called One Pulse. It's been in my previous portfolio. Um, and there's another company called 60 Seconds, where even the most complicated questions about a product on pricing for me is perhaps the most complicated, because you need to be doing quite a lot of, quite a lot of transactions on your platform to kind of determine, and a lot of studies and research and surveys to find the right pricing. What is the right pricing to be competitive and to also retain as much value. And these two platforms are some of the cheapest platforms you could use to test pricing. The first one is like a survey that you can do in like um, 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So it's very cheap, it's very easy. You can reach thousands of people that will just vote on specific questions you have. And the second 60 seconds, it's an amazing application where your target customer, which the company will help you find, will tell you what is the price they would want to pay for your product. So
That's
I
wild. That's
can't,
fantastic.
I can't imagine a better way and cheaper way, if I was in the space developing a business, to validate the most complicated element, and to
Yeah.
find the right kind of audience and to calibrate my strategy. So
Nice.
yeah, let go of the theory and just go out there and give it a go.
Get shift done. That's what we like to hear. That is what it's all about. That is, but you know what, Flavia, that is so great. That's just great advice. It's just honest. If there is no magic milkshake, there is no, simple, linear path to what you're trying to achieve. And actually, it's about risk taking, having fun, trying things, validate, 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 and then once you've got that validation, once you've got that feeling, that confidence, then you can start to engage from investors and start to look at that as an option.
So right. You're
Beautiful.
100%
I
right.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, we've got 10 minutes, and this is just wonderful, by the way. I'm enjoying every minute of this, and I hope everyone else is. But I want to talk about the future. I want to talk about one, the future of the UK in particular. And we've already seen, I mean, you're here. Like, the fact that you're here tells me that the future for the UK is very bright and exciting because you're not alone. There's a lot of people coming into the, like you said earlier, you've identified the direct to consumer market. It's going to be massive in the UK. It's already massive. It's going to get bigger. Do you have any predictions for the future? Anything that you would like to share with us around what you're excited about, and also in particular for Juice Ventures? The next 2-3 years, what does that look like, and what are you excited about on that front as well?
Oh my, that's a very exciting question. I know that we talked about it yesterday. Okay, so let's say the UK. I think we're all of us here attending, founders and investors and operators within the space. We're very privileged. We're in one of the most capital abundant countries in Europe. And we're investing the most out of all the other countries in innovation, in new products and high growth companies, whether they're in the very kind of deep tech or health tech or all the way to direct to consumer. And I think that this is already quite palpable. Just think about it this way. Last year we had about 17 billion invested in our ecosystem by anything from angels to the big, largest VCs that we have. This year we're going to have close to 30 billion. So
Wow.
yeah, just have a think about the massive scale. 30%, and by the end of the year, it will be a lot more of all the capital invested in Europe is actually invested here. So we're basing our whole economic model as a country on innovation, on founders like you guys attending, looking at this video now. Um, and we're creating the opportunities for tomorrow, and everything is set up to give founders the really great foundation to scale. So this is not eliminating direct to consumer. Actually, we're just taking advantage because there's just so much capital out there. So many investors that have backed companies have realized returns and they have capital. They're looking for the next big things. You have seen crowdfunding platforms in the UK are some of the most successful in Europe. You see how many amazing companies have raised extraordinary amount of capital in the last 18 months on Seeders and Crowdcube, products that we end up using. We're seeing in a supermarket now that actually 2 years ago didn't exist. So we're in an ecosystem where if you really want to build a business, you have access to capital from very early stage with organizations such as ours and the group, which is Velocity. And all the way to the point where you're a fully grown business looking for an exit. UK, it's a prime market for brands to scale and then to exit. Um, I think that this trend is going to continue because there's something that has happened in our um, the way we see the world evolving in lockdown. We've moved mostly towards digital experiences. We moved and we're becoming more and more aware of sustainability. We're asking questions about our products. We want to be the new generation, Generation Z, and the younger generations that are teenagers right now. The way they make purchasing decisions, even if it's a simple product or food or clothing, they're starting to ask questions that previous generations have never done before. So building a business with the right ingredients, with sustainability, with specific values at the core, it means that you're on the front line of the change that is happening everywhere around the world. And you have on your doorstep um, funds from pre-seed all the way to pre-IPO that are able to give you the capital, whether that is equity or whether that is products such as ours, ability to scale your business. Um, you have programs dedicated to it, advisors, people like myself and Alex. So I think the future for direct to consumer it's just going to become even more important because the newer generations are purchasing very differently. They're experiencing things in the supermarket. They're experiencing when they're in kind of a retail establishment, but they're actually more bought in and they do a lot more research than any other generation on the brand and how it started and the values and where things are coming from. And it's questioning the reality. Um, and
Well,
for
like
that
that.
reason, yeah, for that reason, this is a perfect point to start a business with the right values, with the right things, stand for the right things, and have demystify your supply chain, demystify how you make the product, demystify what is great about it. We've seen the guys at Innocent, the food, the
Yeah, yeah,
natural juices. They started the company with that ethos in mind of knowing exactly what you buy, having great quality. We've seen them make exceptional exits. We've seen them establishing an amazing vehicle for investing in companies called Jamjar Investments.
yeah.
And they've backed tens of companies in this space. I absolutely love the organization. I think they're an amazing story, and they already had 10 plus exits from a very what I would consider a small portfolio for so many exits. So you guys, you have the best ecosystem to be in. This is not me speaking. I'm here. I live here. I love this place. It's not that. I think it's just the realization of just how much you can do here. And actually, the moment you cross the channel and you go into continental Europe, you find that if you're a B2C business or a D2C business, the world starts to get really awkward for you because nobody's investing, nobody really understands this, and you're forced to change your model to be something that you might not necessarily want to be. So I would say, yeah, when it comes to the UK, we have great ways of funding companies, great products like ours that can help founders scale more rapidly and give them the support and the equity on the way to success. And most importantly, we have, I think, the knowledge and the forum for being able to find the responses and navigate those really complex situations. And I know I'm having monthly sessions with experts for our clients and our equity portfolio, continuously bringing knowledge about what happens in digital marketing on specific platforms. How do you go through the sort of decision-making exercises, when you optimize your processes. So for me, I'm looking across the board and I'm bringing that in the same fashion as we're doing here, so that my companies get access to information, get access to knowledge. In terms of just ventures, I think we're in the beginning of a journey where founders are waking up to the realization that there's just so much you can do. And personally, I lead the market activity. I'm very privileged to work with the founders from the group and be able to almost set the direction in which we're going. For me, I'm putting the founders at the center and I'm building around them. It's not just about the capital, it's about the value add, it's about the expertise. I want to be able to help people realize their potential and realize the things that they want to do with their businesses. Um, and for me, I have around 30 or so partnerships that will be launching very soon. There's just so much value that I want to be able to bring to every founder that comes through our doors and wants to be on this journey with us from a very early stage all the way to Series A. I think that we have a lot of things to offer, and the future is bright. There's just so much we can do, but we're still in the very beginning of the journey ourselves.
That's awesome. Oh, beautiful. Well, look, I think first and foremost, I think that's such a welcoming statement around what the economy is looking for. What's the future? And coming from someone, so yesterday, oh, was it yesterday? No, Wednesday. What day is it? Is it Thursday? Friday?
Friday.
It's Friday. I mean, you can tell we were also in the early stage of something because I don't know what day it is. But Wednesday, I spent a day with 150 14-year-olds in a school in Cambridge talking about enterprise and entrepreneurship.
Amazing.
And the every single one of them, every single group told us something, their business idea or their side hustle or the thing that they were doing had some form of social impact. Every single one of them. And I think that is exactly the point that this is a wonderful opportunity to really blend social change and massive
Yeah.
impact on our world and our society and entrepreneurship, which is what entrepreneurship's all about. It's about creativity, problem solving. It's a wonderful discipline. And it's great to hear that Juice Ventures is here to come and play. Yeah, I'm really excited to see. Well, I want to see you. I've told you already. I need to see you in Cambridge. You need to come up and party with us and have a good time.
Oh, I'm there. I love Cambridge. I used to be there almost every month, or maybe sometimes even more often than that, before lockdown. So, guys, I think Cambridge is such an amazing city. I have friends there. I would anytime you want, I'm there.
Nice, nice. So we'll all be meeting Flavia soon, but we'll be back next month. Will you come back and do another one of these with us in December? Another live like this? So this has been really useful, I think.
Of course, absolutely. I'll
Beautiful.
bring you guys the fresh data and fresh insight into our ecosystem.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time, Flavia, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks everyone for
Amazing.
tuning in.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you everyone for watching. Have an
See you
amazing
later.
day. Bye,
Thanks, bye.
guys.